Hey everyone, welcome back to Tan's Top 10 channel. I know it's been a while since I've been in front of the camera. Life has just been pretty hectic the past couple weeks, but finally wanted to get back to the channel, make some content, and I'm happy to be back in front of the camera once again. Yeah, past couple of weeks, haven't really gone to the theaters much to see any movies. Hasn't really been anything out recently that I've really wanted to see. I didn't even see Thor Love and Thunder in theaters, which is kind of surprising. I did check out Orphan First Kill, the new movie that just came out on Hulu, I think it was. That came out this past weekend. That was pretty damn good. Check that out. I haven't actually even seen the first Orphan. I know all about the twists and turns of that movie, but I wanted to check out this new one, so that was kind of cool that I was able to just watch that at home. I also watched the premiere episode of House of the Dragon yesterday on HBO Max, and I gotta say, I am into this show so far. I was very surprised by it. My expectations were not that high. Like everyone else, I was very disappointed with Season 8 of Game of Thrones, and I wasn't really interested in seeing any more shows about this universe. But I'm into it now. They got me hooked, and I can't wait to see where they go with this. Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen, what an asshole. But yeah, that's my new show. I'm also looking forward to The Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings TV show on Amazon. That comes out, I believe, in less than 2 weeks now. So I'm really looking forward to that. Trailers have been... I've been pretty hyped by the trailers. I know everyone on the internet is shitting on this show. I am not one of those people that wants to start hating on a show before I see it, or movies or anything. Like, I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and stuff like that, and Star Wars. Like, why wouldn't I want these shows and this stuff to be good? Why would I want to go in expecting to hate it and thinking it's going to be shit? And, you know, sometimes we don't get the greatest content like that, like the Halo TV series. I did watch all of that. I am a massive fan of the Halo video games, and I went into the show with high expectations, and it didn't meet those expectations, but I still had a good enough time with it. I can't wait for a season 2, but I don't think the show is dog shit like everyone thinks this Lord of the Rings show is going to be. Maybe it will be dog shit. I don't know, but I can't like judge that based off the trailers from what I've seen. I will judge it when I actually see the show, which is how everyone else should be doing it. Instead of posting in the comments like everyone wants to be right and saying like, oh, I knew it was going to be shit. I can't do that. So, I don't know. I just want to be excited for good content, and hopefully it is good. I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks. So anyways, today's top 10 video is going to be me counting down 10 movies that I seem to enjoy more than most people. I do have some honorable mentions, as usual. None of these movies are like dog shit or anything. Actually, some of them are pretty great, and it just seems like majority of the people have issues with them, or a lot of people complain on the internet about them. But anyways, kicking off the list with some honorable mentions. So my first honorable mention is going to be Transformers Dark of the Moon. This is the third one. I'm not a big fan of the Transformers franchise. I used to be. The first one I really liked. Second one I thought was dog shit. The third one I remember seeing in theaters with my brother. And it was actually a pretty good Transformers movie. Like all of them, they're way too long, they're way too bloated. But I thought the action was really good in this movie. The final, like, 45 minutes is just a battle in Chicago, and people are getting decimated in this movie. Holy shit, they, like, get turned to skeletons. So out of all Transformers movies, that one's probably my favorite. My next honorable mention is Mission Impossible 3. Now, I know a lot of people do enjoy this movie, but it seems like it kind of gets tossed away just because a lot of the other movies in this franchise are like all-timers. But I actually think number 3 has a lot of merit to it. For one, it definitely has, I think, the best villain of the series in Philip Seymour Hoffman. He gives an amazing performance in that movie. I also think the action is spectacular. I mean, in all these movies it is, but J.J. Abrams did a great job with this movie. And I think it's actually pretty underrated. It's probably one of the better action movies of at least the 2000s. And my last honorable mention is a movie that people tend to like, but I love this movie. That is Overlord. This came out in 2018. It's pretty much like a Nazi zombies movie. It actually reminds me a lot of like John Carpenter, like in the 80s. You have some really, really cool monster effects and zombie effects. You get some pretty cool actors in here. Wyatt Russell, always love seeing him. He's the son of Kurt Russell, so that's awesome. Speaking of John Carpenter. You also have the guy who plays Euron Greyjoy from Game of Thrones. He's the villain in this. He's pretty menacing. But I love this movie. I thought it was a total blast, kick-ass movie, and if we ever got a sequel, that'd be pretty cool. But check it out if you haven't, Overlord. All right, kicking off the list at number 10 is Aquaman. The reason this is at number 10 is because people do tend to really like this movie, but I would probably say this is my favorite movie in the DCEU. First of all, James Wan knows how to make just a total blast of a movie. For a reference point, check out Malignant from last year, I think that was, or 2 years ago. Malignant was awesome. But Aquaman was just a total blast to see in theaters. Visually, it's spectacular. Like, this reminds me a lot of like Avatar, where it's just so colorful and the world is just so like vibrant. It's beautiful to look at, especially in 4K. Jason Momoa is just a total badass and such a cool dude in this movie. And like I said, you got a stacked cast with Jason Momoa, you got Willem Dafoe, Nicole Kidman, and Patrick Wilson as Ocean Master. So I'm excited for Aquaman 2, especially since James Wan is coming back to direct. And like I said, it's probably my favorite movie in the DCEU. Coming in at number 9 is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2. I know a lot of people don't like these movies. For one, they're very brutal. They're very violent, very vulgar, disgusting in some points. And I also know Rob Zombie's directing style isn't for everyone, including me. Like, I've seen The Devil's Rejects. I don't like that movie. But I actually think that his take on the Halloween franchise is unique. That's what I appreciate about these movies, is they're totally different compared to all the other Halloween movies, which, if you look at a lot of horror remakes, like take, for example, Nightmare on Elm Street from 2010, that movie is kind of just a copy and paste of the original. You can definitely not say that at least Halloween 1 and 2 aren't technically copy and paste. There are definitely elements and some story beats that he takes, but he definitely makes it his own, and I appreciate it for what it is, and I definitely think they're better than most of the Halloween sequels. Coming in at number 8 is Troy. I definitely love this movie more than most people. A lot of people hate on it for being kind of a boring, generic sword and sandals movie. I think this movie is total badass, epic, and pretty underrated. For one, you got a stacked cast. You got Brad Pitt looking badass as hell. Eric Bana, Orlando Bloom, Brian Cox, Rose Byrne. You even have Peter O'Toole in this thing. And Brendan Gleeson as well. And it's directed by Wolfgang Peterson, who just passed away not too long ago. Rest in peace. He gave us some awesome movies. But I just think the scope and the size of this movie like really pulls you in. Like I said, the performances are all excellent. And it's pretty brutal. The battle scenes are great, and I just really love the story as well. I wish we got more movies like this. Sure, there's some sappy moments and stuff, but definitely underrated, I think, and deserves a 4K upgrade. Although I'm not the biggest fan of the director's cut. There's a couple of changes they make from the theatrical that I did not like. I know I'm probably in the minority on that, but Troy is total blast. Coming in at number 7 is going to be Star Trek Into Darkness. Now, this movie actually did get really good reviews when it first came out. Critics liked it. Some majority of fans loved it. But it seems nowadays a lot of people kind of shit on it for pretty much being a copy and paste of The Wrath of Khan. Honestly, I've never seen The Wrath of Khan. I'm not that big of a Star Trek fan. Actually, the only ones I have seen are the 3 Kelvin timeline ones. And I've enjoyed them all. And so I don't have like a lot of nostalgia or like love for this franchise. So what they do with this movie, I loved it. I think it's super entertaining. I did like Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan. I thought he was total badass. It's just a fun movie. Like I said, if you're a fan of this franchise, I can maybe understand why you would hate this movie or not appreciate it as much. But for someone who's just kind of a mild fan, I had a lot of fun with it, and I definitely like it more than most people. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, this did get good reviews when it came out, but it seems like a lot of people have this towards the bottom of their MCU rankings. This would probably be in the middle for me, but I actually really do enjoy this movie, especially more than most people. A lot of people have problems with like Ultron as the villain, which I disagree with. I think he's a total menacing villain. James Spader does a great job with the voice work there. You also get the introduction of a lot of characters like Vision. That's awesome. You get Wanda Maximoff and Quicksilver for like a split second. Then he's Auditor. But I do love the introduction of Wanda. She's probably my favorite MCU character that's still going today. You get some excellent action sequences like the Hulkbuster versus Hulk. That's awesome. The final battle in Sokovia. That's really cool as well. You get some very cool character moments as well. Very nice interactions. Yeah, there are some story beats and stuff, like storylines like Thor going off into that pool. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but especially compared to a lot of MCU Phase 4 stuff that we've gotten recently, I think this is actually holds up a lot better. Yeah, it's one that I tend to go back to quite often if I'm in the mood to watch an MCU movie. Coming in at number 5, we've got Die Hard 2 and 4. Now, a lot of you know, if you see my videos, Die Hard is my favorite action film of all time. And it seems like Die Hard 2 and 4 tend to get a lot of hate. 2, a lot of people say is a copy and paste of the first one, which I don't have a problem with because, like I said, the first one's my favorite action movie. So if it's copy and paste, I'm pretty much kind of getting the same stuff, but they do it enough different. You know, you get them in the airport running around. William Sadler isn't that great of a villain, but he's enjoyable enough. I just think that, like, I love 90s action movies, so watching Die Hard 2, I actually think it's a lot of fun. You get some great character moments. You know, you still get John McClane actually being like a person and like having emotions and stuff. Yeah, and I think the action in it is really good. I think it's directed by Renny Harlin, so he did a great job with number 2. And then number 4 gets a lot of shit for being the PG-13 Die Hard, which it's kind of stupid that they ever even thought of doing a Die Hard movie PG-13. But we do have an unrated cut, which they throw in all your F-bombs and violence and stuff that you want. And I actually think the action in number 4 is pretty underrated. There's some awesome stunt work. John McClane is still a total badass, and I like his interactions with Justin Long being like the younger, techier guy, and John McClane is just the old badass. So their banter like back and forth is a lot of fun, and I just think it's directed really well. And Timothy Olyphant is actually a pretty underrated villain. He's pretty fun in that as well. So Die Hard 2 and 4, if you haven't seen them in a while, definitely check them out. Number 2 is one of my favorite Christmas movies. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Alien Covenant. Now, a lot of people would probably have Prometheus on their list. I do like Prometheus quite a bit, but there are just some character decisions in there that I think are just so dumb that I cannot get past them. Covenant doesn't have those, I don't have those problems with. There's still some problems with the movie, but I think it does improve on what Prometheus did, and it feels more like an Alien movie to me personally. I think the actual alien, the xenomorph, is terrifying in this movie. There are some genuinely creepy moments with it, especially towards the end. It's brutal. You also got a stacked cast. You got Michael Fassbender coming back. Catherine Waterston is pretty cool. I think they could have done some better things with her character. Danny McBride, he's a lot of fun. Billy Crudup. So you got a really good cast, and obviously Ridley Scott directed this, so it looks beautiful. It's directed very well. I think it's just a lot more entertaining than most people give it credit for, and I would love to see a third film in this trilogy that Ridley Scott has done. So hopefully Ridley Scott would come back to the franchise to close that out. I don't know if we'll ever see it, but I do enjoy Alien Covenant quite a bit. Coming in at number 3 is a movie that people either tend to really hate or really love. And obviously it's on this list, so I love it. Mother. This is directed by Darren Aronofsky, who is a director that I don't love all of his movies, but I think every movie he makes is at least interesting. There's always something interesting to look at or to see in a Darren Aronofsky movie. You know it's going to be directed very well. A lot of people hate on Mother for being pretty much too beaten over the head with its message, which I can understand. The message of the movie, the story is pretty, it's not that hard to dig into. I just think this movie is, one, very bold with some choices it makes. It's very brutal in some parts, but I'm always like engaged with it, and I'm always fascinated by some of the choices he makes, by the direction, the shots. You got fantastic actors in here. You got Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Bardem, Ed Harris, Michelle Pfeiffer looking great. Yeah, I can definitely understand people hating this movie. I don't know. I just like get sucked into it every time, and I'm just blown away by his direction of this movie. And definitely think it's pretty underrated. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Godzilla 2014. I absolutely love this movie. I remember seeing it the first time at home. I didn't see this in theaters. I saw it at home, and I enjoyed it, but seeing it in 4K in like with the sound cranked, and you know you got a nice big TV, you got a good sound system. This movie is awesome. It looks gorgeous, the colors in this movie, but the sound design, you got Dolby Atmos on this thing. So when Godzilla is first introduced, that thing is just booming. Your speakers, your house is just shaking. I loved it. But I actually think there's a lot more merit to this. You know, this is directed by Gareth Edwards, the same guy who directed Rogue One. And one of the things he understands better than most directors is scale and like the size of things. So like when you see Godzilla in this movie, you actually feel like he's massive because, you know, he's putting them by helicopters or buildings, and you're like, holy shit. Same with like Rogue One with like some of the ships and stuff in that movie. I also think it's got some awesome actors in it. You know, Bryan Cranston, Elizabeth Olsen, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ken Watanabe. You got. I will say that I agree with everyone that Bryan Cranston should have been the main character. He shouldn't have been killed off. But I think that the focus of this movie, with it being Godzilla, I think is awesome. The little bit we do get of it, it's like a build up. Like they're building up to the end. And I think the end of this movie is fucking awesome. I just really enjoy this movie. I think it's directed masterfully. It's definitely my favorite movie in the MonsterVerse that we've gotten so far, and definitely underrated. Pick up the 4K of that if you haven't, and check it out if you have a good TV and sound system. It's awesome. But coming in at number 1, I might get shot for this, but I don't care. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I have never understood the hate that this movie gets. I see so many people on the internet bitching and complaining and saying that Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars, he ruined the lore, he ruined my favorite Star Wars character in Luke Skywalker. Fuck Rian Johnson. Guys, first of all, it's just a movie. Calm down. Second of all, Rian Johnson didn't come into your house, steal your original trilogy movies and your prequels, and burn them and say, now you can only watch this. You can still watch those movies. Luke Skywalker is still just fine in them. It's okay. Calm down. What I love The Last Jedi for is how bold Rian Johnson was with some of the decisions and how he was going to take the Star Wars lore in a new direction, which I appreciate. I want these franchises to go in new directions. Otherwise, shit just starts getting stale and it turns into like Marvel, the MCU now, where everything's just like witty and funny. Like there's nothing really new. So I appreciate Rian Johnson for at least trying to take the Star Wars franchise in a new direction. I also think it's probably the best looking Star Wars movie. The cinematography, the shots, the color. Holy shit, does this movie look beautiful. All the performances are fantastic. This is probably the best Mark Hamill has been as Luke Skywalker in a long time. It's a lot better than fucking, CGI Mark Hamill and The Mandalorian. That looks not good. I just appreciate like the choices he went with this. Like, some of them don't really work for me. The Canto Bite sequence, I don't really love. I don't really understand the point of that. Like, the Benicio del Toro character probably could have been out of the movie. The one part that I do not like in this movie, and it's bothered me ever since I even saw it in theaters, is, excuse me, the end when Finn is going to sacrifice himself to save the Resistance and take out the First Order or whatever. When he's going to sacrifice himself, and then Rose just comes in and like takes him out so he doesn't kill himself. I've always hated that. I always thought that that would have been a great end for that character of Finn, for him to, you know, make the ultimate sacrifice to save his friends. And especially with what they do with his character in The Rise of Skywalker, they probably should have just killed him off in this movie. That's always bothered me. Other than that, I love this movie. It's probably, at least in my top 3 or 4 Star Wars movie of all time. I would have to make a list, which I will someday. But yeah, like I said, I just never understood the hate that this movie gets. I don't know. I just love it. So, The Last Jedi coming in at number 1. Well, if you stuck around and listened to me gush about The Last Jedi, I appreciate it. But that is the end of this video, my top 10 movies that I like more than most people. I do want to make a companion video to this one where I talk about 10 movies that I hate or dislike more than most people. I'm going to try to get that out soon enough. But as always, guys, I do appreciate you sticking with the channel. As always, please like the video, share, and comment below. Let's have some fun conversations. Share some movies that you like more than most people. I'm sure there's plenty of movies out there that most people like, so that a lot of people hate. So please share that down below. And yeah, feels good to be back in front of the camera. And as always, guys, I'll see you next time.